Strategic Customer Development Manager, Southeast Asia. She is responsible for ensuring industry awareness of USP's processes, products, services, and opportunities to collaborate with USP. Stella started her professional career application chemist in a local manufacturing company. Thereafter, she took on account management roles, providing analytical supplies to the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. Stella received her BSc and MSc in chemistry from NUS, National University of Singapore. She has also received training in ISO 17025. Without further ado, welcome Stella.
Thank you, Francis, for the very nice introduction. Good to go. Okay, thanks everyone again. So my name is Stella, Strategic Customer Development Manager at Pharmacopeia in Singapore. Before I start, special thanks to ISP as well as Francis for the opportunity to do this sharing today. So today's agenda, I hope after my sharing at the end of my presentation, you will have a better understanding on the United States Pharmacopeia, and then the process of developing a Pharmacopeia standard, followed by what the USP Asia Pacific has in the region generally. So brief introduction about USP. We are an organization, non-for-profit organization that is more than 200 years old. Okay, we are a very value-driven organization. We focus on developing quality standards to protect the public health. And our headquarters is in Rockville, Maryland, USA. And we do have laboratory facilities in the US, India, as well as Ghana, and offices in several countries all over the world. So worldwide, we have about 1,000 employees, and we work with more than 900 practitioners and regulators to develop standards that help to protect public health. So the mission of USP is really to promote global health through public standards and related programs that can help to ensure the quality, safety, and the benefit of medicines and foods. So our standard is entrusted by the US government. It is utilized in more than 550 countries all over the world. So aligning with our mission, our standards helps to help the global regulators as well as the manufacturer globally to ensure that high quality medicines and supplements are developed and manufactured in the respective countries. So here is a brief historical, I would say, that gives you an idea on the legal basis for USP standards. So back in 1906, it was a year of great scale in the US. There is this investigative writer that published a book. His name is Sinclair, and his book is called The Jungle, where he's described the practice of meat industry in the US. So his book was so powerful and effective that there was a big outcry to regulate more in the area of food as well as drugs. So a congressional investigation led to the passage of the Pure Food Drug Act Foundation, and we have the foundation of FDA. And the law recognizes that the US Pharmacopeia standards are the authoritative standards for drugs. So it is further enforced in the year of 1938, when one of the first medicine scanner in the US. So it is the incident of the elixir sulfadamide, and during that year, 1937, okay, the antibiotics was actually adulterated with diethylene glycol, and with that, it actually killed more than 100 people, and many of whom were children So the rest of the point, you will see that the legal recognitions of USP standards in their directive, be it in these dietary supplements, health act, as well as the drug quality and security acts. So what is the relationship of USP with FDA? So in short and very summarized explanation, you can see USP as a private non-for-profit organization, and we are the organization that sets standards, okay, that needs to be complied, particularly in the US, in order to meet the local quality requirements for food as well as for drugs. So the FDA is the enforcement government agency, all right? So what they do is they run audits and then they enforce USP USP documentary standards as well as USP standards to the manufacturer to ensure that their products are in compliance to USP standards. So beyond that, USP and FDA, we actually have a very close working relationship. FDA engage with us very regularly and closely, so that we see that we are in a very unique space in this relationship, that we would be a very good bridge for the manufacturer or the industry, right, to help educate them and to develop their manufacturing capability in order for them to comply to the local regulatory requirements. So here is USP organizational structure. So with a mission to improve global health through public standard, it is essential that USP is guided with a broad and diverse perspective. So we actually rely on more than, rely on nearly 500 convention members. Okay, so these convention members, they actually help to shape USP area of focus. And these members includes health practitioner, professional, and scientific association, the manufacturer and trade association, and other pharmacopoeias. And then we have the council of experts and the expert committee, whom are volunteers. As I mentioned, there are more than 900 scientific volunteers all over the world that comprises in this council of experts. So what they do is that the council will oversee USP scientific and standard setting decision. And our expert committee, they are responsible for developing and revising USP standards that comprises in the compendia. So the expert committee, they also approve USP reference standards specific for the use of compendia. So you can see that, for the standards that we set at USP, it is really decided, okay, and formulated based on unbiased, relevant scientific scientists that are the volunteer for us. So what we do in USP is, for my role, all right, USP staff, we support the volunteers as well as the general operations worldwide, okay, and also to develop our customer relationship globally. So the experts behind our standards, you will see that this gives you an overview of the this year, as well as this cycle will actually run for 5 years, from 2020 to 2025. So our expert committee, they have several focus in different areas of standards for medicine. So you will see that in our current cycle that will last until 2025, all right, the area of focus will be on small molecules, biologics, excipients, compound preparations, dietary supplements, and food ingredients. Right? So the expert committee will publish proposed standards for public comment, and then they will review the public comment related to the draft standards. And all these standards are adjusted based on our expert committee consideration of the public comment. And then they are adopted by those USP volunteers by by a majority vote. So here is a quick introduction on the process of developing pharmacopoeia standards. So first we talk about what kind of standards are there in USP. What kind of standard does USP offer? I would say we can categorize them in two groups. The first group will be the documentary standards, and then the second group will be the physical standards, which will be explained in the next few animation here. So monograph, I would say that they are belonging in the category of documentary standards. So a monograph, it is a written document that reflects the quality attributes of medicine approved by USP. So some of the attributes that are articulated in the document, okay, includes tests to identify a particular substance of the medicines, which is the identity, and then strength, which is the potency of the medicine, purity, it could be information on the impurity that might be present in the medicine, as well as the last attribute will be on the performance. So those tests typically is a test that can help to predict and demonstrate how the medicine will be released as it enters the human body. So as of the test will be a decision test, for example. Now, the second documentary standard that we have to offer is the general chapters. So general chapters provide a broadly applicable information to the industry on the accepted process, test, and method to support development and manufacturing of the certain drug product. So it's good to know that from USP, general chapters that are less than 1,000 are typically called informational chapter, which means they are not intended to be required by regulatory agency to enforce. All right. So lastly, is the category of physical standards that USP have to offer. It is called the reference standards. All right, so reference standards, they are highly characterized physical specimen. You can see later on a photograph of our reference standard. Typically, they are in the. So these reference standards, they are actually closely tied with the documentary standards. So they are material based directly on official monograph in the USP and NF. All right, and the USP and NF is standards and procedure. They are enforceable by the US FDA. Okay, so this gives you a very nice pictorial, okay, understanding on how the physical reference standards are coupled to the documentary standards. So US Pharmacopeia, we are one of the few pharmacopoeias that provide reference standards that are coupled to monographs. Right, so this is a schematic view on the development process of our standards. I will just use a laser pointer to, guide you through this schematic view. It looks complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. But I would say that the process to execute this is, it requires a lot of collaboration. It requires a lot of laboratory testing, right? And then, of course, requires a lot of independent expert input on whether or not certain test methods are scientifically sound and certain test methods are applicable to testing laboratory all over the world. Okay, so the development process of a monograph here, you can follow my laser pointer. So you'll see that first, we will, USP staff and the industry and the regulator agency, we will first identify a need for new standards. So when do we have a need for new standards? For example, a medicine that has soon their patent expired, Okay, and then you can expect what happened is that there will be a lot more companies going to produce generic version of the patented medicine. So with that, there will be a need for standards, because we want to make sure that all these generic drug or medicine that will be out in the market meets certain kind of quality requirement. Okay, and then with that, we identify the need for a new monograph. And the USP scientists will work with the industry, usually the innovator and partners, to draft a public standard monograph proposal. Remember, the monograph will include testing parameters like purity, okay, like the potency, etc., etc. And then, of course, it helps a lot. It requires a lot of collaboration with the innovator themselves, how they are testing and ensuring quality of their current product. Okay, so from there, we will do an evaluation and draft monograph that to be proposed to be reviewed by the expert committee in the analytical chemistry and drug development. So remember that the expert committee, they are volunteers. They are non-USP staff, okay? So they are volunteers identified to be actively working on various areas, for example, analytical chemistry, for example, microbiology. So we have them in their expertise to help to draft all this monograph. So with that, we will evaluate and then put it into a public dissemination for the public to review. Okay, so this will be on a platform which I will share in the next slide. Okay, this platform is called the Pharmacopeia Forum. It is free for everyone to access, because we want to make sure the public is able to comment and review all this draft monograph that has been proposed by the committee of experts. Okay, so we will put all the draft monographs to be on the platform for 90 days. And then open it up for the public to review and comment. All right. And then if everything is, and then we will collect the comment, review them, and then decide whether or not we want to push forward to officially, launch this monograph or not. Right. So of course, with monograph, there has to be reference standards, because the monograph will state some quality parameters that require laboratory testings. Okay, so reference standards, typically we get our material from candidate companies and from sponsor or from donation, preferably from donation. We do sometimes also have to purchase the reference standards as well. Okay, and then from there, we will do a collaborative study of the material itself. So this collaborative study actually will involve several laboratories. Of course, they are accredited laboratory. They include USP laboratory, regulator laboratory, as well as other industry accredited laboratories that are in partnership with us. So these collaborative studies typically are designed to identify and confirm the bulk that we have collected from the sponsor or company. Okay, it could be confirmation of identity through spectroscopic analysis or chromatographic analysis. And then we also assess the purity by performing direct purity tests or indirect purity tests on them. And then we also will determine the suitability of the bulk to run the test on the compendia method. And also many other attributes such as hygroscopicity using the vapor absorption analysis. Okay, so with that, we will collect the data, we will review the data. So the collaborator report and the raw data packages will be analyzed and evaluated by our reference standard scientists. So all along, the results will be the proposed reference standard label text, and then they will be collated into a reference standard candidate evaluation package for review. So for quantitative standard, purity value is calculated by the mass balance approach using the collaborators data. All right, so you can see that after much effort and a lot of time, we will have a deliberation, very strong deliberation, whether the method of the monograph makes sense and whether the reference standard is suitable to be used for the proposed testing method. And then we will have the standards approved, and then the reference standard will be made available together when the proposed monograph is official. So we make sure that when there is a monograph that is official, the industry would have the appropriate reference standard to be used and coupled together with the documentaries, the monograph, the testing methods. Okay, so this is the Pharmacopeia Forum that I was referring to. It is a public forum, okay? It is free for anyone and everyone to access, okay? It is a free bi-monthly online publication. So it actually will give you information on the standards that USP are developing or revising. And then it also gives the user opportunity to review proposed monograph or proposed chapters, and then let them have the opportunity to give their comment and scientific opinion on the proposed revision in certain chapters or monograph. So this is actually something that I highly encourage QC and laboratory analysts to follow this platform. We update it every 2 months. So particularly running a routine test in your laboratory, you want to make sure that that particular test you're updated in the development of the test. So if there's any proposed change or amendment to the test, you will be very much abreast to the development. Okay, so next I will talk a little bit about the USP reference standards. So USP, we have more than 3,500 reference standards, and the reference standard, they are highly characterized physical specimen used in tandem with the USP monograph. It is used to demonstrate the identity, the strength, the quality, and the purity of the drug substance, dosage form, excipients, food ingredients, or other product. So it can be used for quantitative testing or qualitative purpose. So for quantitative, it's usually testing on how much is it in the drug substance, and maybe testing on the limits, on the impurity. So for qualitative approach or test, it's typically the identity test that the monograph calls to run, or it can be tests like the system suitability test in terms of the qualitative purpose. So our reference standard is rigorously tested by USP, as you can understand from the schematic diagram that I was going through with you earlier. Okay, so it's rigorously tested by USP, by the industry. Industry could be from manufacturers, from other companies, or from the companies that provided the candidate reference standard material. And also, it is tested by the government scientists. For example, with us on board, we have the FDA and the Health Canada as part of our collaborative testing laboratory. All right. So the use and the application of USP reference standard, generally USP reference standard, they are used in analytical or laboratory application as specified in USP compendia. However, it may be possible to use USP reference standard in other compendia or quality assessment application. However, it is the responsibility of the user to determine the suitability of the USP reference standard for other non-specified purpose. So the advantage of using USP reference standards, really, you can see that it helps to ensure conclusive results. So it is mentioned in the USPNF General Notice Section 5.8. Okay, it mentions that only results obtained using USP reference standards are definitive, where USP reference standards are called in the test or essay. So the combination of monograph tested with other reference standards is not conclusive. So I really encourage, always, especially you're running tests or running R&D program, always try to make an attempt to procure primary reference standard or compendium reference standard as much as possible. And then primary reference standard also help to minimize risk. So this is the ICH Q7. So ICH is the International Council of Harmonization. It has a large range of guidance for quality, safety, and efficacy of drug products. So in Q7, it is a quality session. It contains a big GMP guideline of ICH. It is a big GMP guideline from ICH. So the section of analytical work in chapter 11, they refers to primary reference standards obtained from an officially recognized source are normally used without testing if stored under condition consistent with the supplier's recommendation. So really, primary reference standard, users can use it as it is without further testing. So in terms of the quality controls, the quality expectation in the manufacturing plant, the utilization of primary standard can help to minimize risk in that sense. And lastly, USP reference standard are also officially recognized. You can see that this is guidance for the US industry that was released by FDA on the analytical procedure and method validation for drugs and biologics. Basically, it offers official recognitions of reference standards from Pharmacopeia, from WHO, as well as the National Institute of Standards and Technology, giving you a little bit more on the background, regulatory background of our reference standards. So, all right, so this is the gist of, the advantage, the pharmacopoeia advantage of using USP reference standard. So lastly, I just want to share with you, a little bit about USP in Asia Pacific. Okay, a history and what exactly we do here and what exactly we have been doing in this region. So USP Asia Pacific, we are a pretty young team. We actually established our office in Singapore in 2017, about 3-4 years ago. And we do have headcounts, all right, in Singapore and South Korea. So as mentioned, our standards are used in more than 150 countries over the world. So USP, we see that there's the importance, all right, to have our presence in Asia Pacific so that we can enable a better ease of use of our standards. So the headcount in Singapore and South Korea really is to achieve the objective of ensuring, industry awareness of USP processes, USP product, service, and also opportunity to collaborate with USP. So here you will see that there are some photos of educational seminars hosted in Indonesia. That is the left-hand side photo. On the right-hand side, you can see another educational seminar that was hosted in the Philippines. So we do also organize educational courses. So for more information on the offerings, I highly encourage you, to go over to our education course website. Okay, so we know that especially in recent times, face-to-face physical seminars is quite challenging to have. So our education course, it also includes some on-demand courses that users can watch it online at the comfort of their home or even in the office, and then it comes with certifications, and some of the courses are also complimentary as well. So please feel free, I really encourage you to look into the website and look through the courses available from USP online. All right, and then what we do here is, with COVID-19 here, we also try to organize more virtual events so that we can stay connected with the industry as well as the relevant stakeholders. So monthly, we also host Quality Hour webinar series. So this series is free for all, a 60 minutes webinar. Basically, we give an update to everyone on what's new from USP in terms of the documentary standards, as well as in terms of the new release reference standard. And of course, during each session, we will also discuss specific topics, such as monoclonal antibody. We did one in August. We also did performance verification tests content in June. And tomorrow, actually, for the Quality Hour webinar series, we will be talking about the COVID-19 toolkit that USP has developed. It is specifically relevant to the healthcare practitioner. It contains information on, effectively drawing doses from the 3 FDA-approved vaccine currently, the Moderna vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, as well as the Janssen vaccine. So it is a pretty informative session for tomorrow. So if you would like to join, please, feel free to drop me a note. I can put you into the registration link after the sharing today. And lastly, on the collaboration part, okay, USP is also looking into opportunities to collaborate with the industry, the academia, as well as the regulators. So a good example of what we have been doing is we are part of the APEC Life Science Innovative Forum for the Global Supply Chain Integrity Committee. So we actually completed hosting a training in collaboration with the Ministry of Health Malaysia, Taylor University Malaysia, on the topic of global supply chain integrity. And then in East Asia, right, in 2020, USP we signed MOU, okay, on the laboratory collaboration program with the National Institute of Food and Drug Safety Evaluation, NIFDS, which is part of the Republic of Korea Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. So this collaboration program really, like I mentioned, it enables rigorous testing of USP reference standards, candidate material in qualified labs like this partner with us from NIFDS. And then lastly, we also co-host event together with important stakeholders. For example, just 2 weeks ago, we touched on important emerging topic like the nitrosamine impurity in pharmaceutical. We co-host this together with the India Pharmaceutical Association, okay, to give a very good overview in terms of the regulatory perspective as well as the industry development on this area on this topic of nitrosamine impurity in the pharmaceuticals. Okay, so with that, this is the end of my sharing. So I leave you with my contact information. And the second very essential, important contact would be the technical service team. So Lisa is actually my technical service scientist that is responsible for any USP reference standard questions that you may have. So you can feel free to drop your question to this email address. And then also, I leave you with our USP website, so you can find out more. I hope you have a better understanding of what we do, and then looking forward for more engagement opportunity with the industry as well as relevant association.
Thank you very much, Stella. That was a very informative session, and thank you for sharing your time and introducing your work in the region to us. We have a few questions. Firstly, from Alphonsus, who asks, is there any effort from USP in the region to harmonize or align its monographs with local pharmacopoeia, such as Korea or Chinese pharmacopoeia?
The short answer is yes, but the long answer is that we have been trying to do this harmonization work for a long time already. Okay, but I have to say that yes, USP, we regularly have stakeholder meetings with the rest of the pharmacopoeia around the world to explore if we could harmonize or align monograph with them.
And there's a comment from Rupali who says, I am based out at India and I am not aware of any efforts by USP to align with Indian pharmacopoeia in our region.
Okay, I will have to check this back with my team in India, but I know that this is, this is a challenging thing to in terms of harmonization. All right. I would say that, USP, we do have our stand in terms of monograph, and then whether the local regulatory or local pharmacopoeia can come in an agreement to agree in aligning any, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of scientific discussion, and it also takes a lot of agreement with the respective stakeholders to come with an agreement. But I will definitely get back to my India team and find out if there's any efforts at all with USP India and the local pharmacopoeia to have a harmonization. But I have to say that this is a difficult topic, and then it is a very it's a project that probably will take a long time consuming.
Thank you. Rupali, any comment or Alphonsus?
No, yeah, thanks, Stella.
Are there any other questions from the group? We have about 34 plus people, and we've got 20 minutes. So please take this opportunity to post your questions or simply unmute yourself and ask away. We've also posted up a link, if you could help us to click on that link for a survey so that we can improve our Tech Tuesdays, and also for any suggestions that any of you might have. They are always welcome. Are there any other questions for Stella, please?
Hi, Stella. This is Joelle from Pharma to Market. I would like to ask regarding collaborations. What kind of collaborations is USP actually looking for? Can you give us a few examples?
All right. For myself, I'm actually pretty engaged with the industry, particularly in the biologic space, right? So biologics is a very big molecules, is a very new space in pharma. So, and then there's not so much standards currently in the space. So currently for myself, I've been engaging very much with the biologics companies, cell therapy companies. For example, in Singapore, I'm also I try to have conversation with A-stars to understand, if, because USP, we are standard setting organization. We want to see how we can, try to make our reference standard relevant in the biologic space. So this is one part of the industrial collaboration that we are looking for. And then, of course, we also do look forward to have more conversation with the regulators as well, to understand if they would require any needs for capability building in terms of regulatory requirements in their country, and also open to see if we can connect more with the associations as well, because through the associations we know that it comes with members, and those members could be possible beneficials to what USP can offer, because we do have the educational courses that can help in terms of capability building for quality control analysts or the up and coming regulators as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joelle, for your question. Does anyone else have any questions for Stella?
I have a quick one, maybe, Linda. Novel excipients have been introduced in COVID-19 vaccine. Is there any plan to include this new excipients in USP?
I'm sorry, again?
The new excipients have been used in COVID-19 vaccine, right? So
Excipient.
So I just wonder whether this new experience will be included in USP anytime soon, or whether you are aware of this effort.
To be honest, I'm not very, I don't have the full information on our work regarding the excipients, new excipients that are used to formulate a COVID-19 vaccine. But I do understand that any US FDA approved vaccine, all right, if it requires contribution from USP in terms of defining the quality attributes, I'm very confident that our people from the headquarters will be in close contact with the innovators as well as the regulators in the US.
Thanks, Stella.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions, go on.
Hi, Linda. This is Jinyu speaking. Thank you,
Jinyu.
Stella, for the sharing. I have a question because you're in a regional role. So I was wondering whether you see any difference among the countries or among the different parties that you speak to and you meet with. Do they have different understanding about the USP or the adherence, or what are the attitudes like across the region? Have you noticed anything?
Based on my experience, my exposure to is much more into the quality control analysts, the end users of the reference standard as well as the documentary standards. I see that in countries such as Malaysia, or I'm sorry, in Singapore, as well as in Thailand, right? They actually have very strong technical capability already in interpreting the monographs as well as utilizing the reference standards. Okay, whereas in countries like Malaysia, Southeast Asia, all right, they would I would say that I find myself a little bit more helpful there, because they would require more clarification and guidance in regards to the standards or monograph that we have developed, as well as the reference standard on how to utilize them.
Thank you.
I think your colleague Ruth Lee has just said that USP collaborates with partners on different fronts, such as in the area of capability building through targeted training and education program, as well as in area of advocacy campaign, both locally or regionally. I think that's from Ruth, your colleague.
Yes, that's correct. She's actually my colleague from External Affairs, and then she do interact very much with important stakeholders from the associations to the regulators as well.
Yep. Okay, great. Are there any other questions or comments? And thank you, Stella, for sharing about the events that are organized. I guess these are in Singapore time?
Yes, Singapore time zone. They are very much convenient for our audience in Asia Pacific generally.
Yeah, which is great, so that people can connect with you and also learn and get updates as well. So we can post up this video recording on our ISPE Singapore YouTube channel. We actually have a kind of channel where you can actually go into listen to our previous Tech Tuesday sessions, as well as various webinars that are posted up there for people to reference, and also so that people can then contact you if they have any questions or queries. So if anyone else has any other questions, this is your last chance to post or unmute yourself. And we'd appreciate it if you could click on that survey link that we've provided. We do appreciate any feedback that you can give us so that we can continue with additional sessions and suggestions and to improve. I know that you've got quite an evening planned ahead. You're still working for the rest of this evening, Stella. So with that, I think we'll give you a little bit of a break and before you can continue on with the rest of your day. So thank you everybody for joining us for this Tech Tuesday session. We have more sessions coming up over the coming months, and please do keep in touch with us. We actually have our newsletter as well as our events posted on our LinkedIn and Facebook. So we look forward to seeing you all again. But thank you all for joining us this evening. And unless there's any other questions, without further ado, we will be ending the session.